Self-assessment. After logging into your ISCP account, you go to the Trial MCR link at the top right of your screen. So clicking on this link, you'll see an acknowledgement pop-up window. As this is a trial only, your work will not be saved, so please print off your self-assessment if you want to save it. Self-assessments done on this trial version will not be taken into consideration for any formal assessment, such as the ARCP. After August 2021, when the new curriculum will be formally introduced, all self-assessments will be saved and become an integral part of the learning agreement and assessment process. You can acknowledge this by clicking on this link. It now brings you to your placement page. You can click on your current placement and then click Create Self-Assessment. On the first page, you can see the GPCs. There are 9 domains of professional behaviour that every doctor in the UK must adhere to. For every GPC, there are 2 markers of assessment. 1, appropriate for phase, and 2, area for development. For each of the 9 GPCs, there are many descriptors. So, beginning your self-assessment, you can click, for example, on the first GPC, number 1, Professional Values and Behaviours. If, for example, you believe that you have trouble with time management, you could mark this descriptor, Managing Time and Resources Effectively. You could click there. You can see that it's been clearly marked and recorded as an area of development. You can write some text in the box or you can leave it blank. Now, looking at the other GPCs to see if there are any other areas you need to develop. So, for example, if you think you need to develop team working skills, you could click on GPC number 5. Capabilities in leadership and team working. To find a descriptor to match team working skills, you could either look through all the descriptors or you could type in a keyword search. I'm going to type in team. This descriptor here aligns, actively participating and contributing to the work and success of a team. I'm going to mark that there as an area for development. Again, you can see it here as clearly marked as an area of development. You can write comments again in the box or you can leave it blank. For example, you could write some comment to assist your development in team working skills. Remember, the more information you give on your self-assessment, the more your clinical supervisor will understand how you see your own development as a surgeon and what your training needs are, and therefore what kinds of support you need. It's important to remember that if you mark a descriptor as an area of development, it does not necessarily mean that you have failed in any way or that there is a concern. Rather, it shows that you have insight into your learning needs. After going through all the GPCs, you can click Save and Continue at the bottom of the screen. Now you can start to fill in the capabilities in practice, or SIPs. There are 5 shared SIPs for all specialties. 3 specialties, paediatric surgery, cardiac surgery and plastic surgery, have extra SIPs for their own specialty-specific areas. Capabilities in practice, or SIPs, are the broad-level outcomes of the new curriculum. Let's look at the first SIP, number 1, Manages an Outpatient Clinic. Like the GPCs, there are many component skills called descriptors. Here, the assessment markers are either D for development needed or E, area of excellence. And again, as in the GPCs, you don't have to assess yourself against each of these descriptors, only the ones where development is needed or ones where you believe you are demonstrating excellence. For each of the 5 SIPs, you can select up to 5 descriptors. Any more than that may be overwhelming. After all, the aim is to build competency and progression during this placement. For example, you may decide that this descriptor needs developing. Completes all required documentation. If it needs developing, you can mark this one here. However, you also know that you are good at this descriptor. Selects patients with urgent conditions who should be admitted from clinic. You know you are very good at recognising urgency. You can mark this as an area of excellence. Here you can see the 2 areas clearly marked. This area for development completes all required documentation, and this area of excellence selects patients with urgent conditions who should be admitted from clinic. In the free text box, you could give some evidence to back this up. You could add that if some patients have told you their appreciation and that you acted quickly for them. Now that you have completed the descriptors in SIP number 1, you need to assess your supervision level. The supervision level indicates to what extent you believe you'll need to be supervised by your clinical supervisor while undertaking this SIP. You can click here. The supervision levels in Roman numerals range from 1 to 5. Numeral 1, able to observe only, through to 5, being able and trusted to act a level beyond that expected of a day 1 consultant. It's important to note that you must mark what you believe to be a realistic supervision level in each SIP against the benchmark of a day 1 consultant and not against what's expected at your own phase in training. And again, remember that a low supervision level does not necessarily mean a failure or a concern. It indicates what level of training you are currently at. It signposts how you can progress and improve during the placement. For example, you might consider yourself now at supervision level 3. You can mark 3 here. If the supervision level is less than 4, you must provide more information in the text box. This completes the process for SIP number 1. It's the same process for all the other 4 SIPs. So, after going through all SIPs and marking the supervision levels, you can press Save and Continue at the bottom of the screen. A summary page can now be seen, showing a summary of everything that was marked, each assessment level made, each descriptor marked, plus any comments written in the text boxes, for both the GPCs and the CIPs. When you're satisfied that it's an accurate account of your competency level of your phase of training, you can press the green box at the bottom of the screen. Submit self-assessment. Once submitted, the report is no longer editable. This self-assessment report and the MCR will be the basis of the discussion in your feedback meeting with the lead clinical supervisor. So we press Submit here. You have the option to print this summary by pressing here. The process of self-assessment is now complete. As you become familiar with self-assessment, the process of marking the GPCs and the CIPs and writing comments will become easier, and it can therefore be completed in less time. Once familiar with the process, it need take no longer than 15 to 20 minutes to complete as a rough guide. In summary, a self-assessment is an honest and realistic account of your current skill levels, both for the GPCs and the CIPs. There's no need to assess all descriptors in both the GPCs and the SIPs. Only those areas where development is needed or, in the SIPs, where excellence is demonstrated. Areas for development are signposts for future progress and do not necessarily indicate concern. The trainee can show areas of excellence in their self-assessment. Providing backup evidence to show is helpful. Supervision levels must be rated against the benchmark of a day 1 consultant and not at the current level of the trainee. The completed self-assessment and the MCR report together will form the basis of feedback discussion at your MCR meeting with the lead clinical supervisor. And importantly, the self-assessment is an integral part of the whole learning agreement process and will assist you in your training progression.